من العائلة أو الأصحاب أو الفانزات، وتحياتي للجميع، وإن شاء الله نقدم أداء بيحمسنا.
Sorry, but yeah, he says that he wants to thank everyone who's supporting him, whether you're family, friends, or a fan. He really appreciates all the things that you guys are supporting him for, and he'll do his best to make sure you're all proud of him by the end.
I will be proud of you by the end. I think that's on ground right now. We're going to toss it back to our casters to get games starting. We can't wait. Excited to see for day 2 to start. Take it away, casters and panelists.
Hello and welcome to the PUBG Mobile Global Championships Green Group Day number 2. I'm your host, Hot Jukes, and I'm here with our amazing analyst, none other than the 7WG, and for the first time here, Glitter Explosion. Welcome back, Glitter.
Oh man, I am so excited to be back. Thank you for the welcome. I have been enjoying all of the games so far, and I'm excited to be back with the two of you. Seven, how are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Yesterday we got a bunch of great games. We saw some hot drops that we didn't expect. I cannot wait to see what we're going to be seeing here today, Hot Jukes.
Oh, me too. I'm looking forward to that first Gale match automatically. Man, so much has happened so far. We finally have made it to the big show. It's all come down to this. So I hope you guys go right now into the game. Make sure you get your PMGC token, log in, and vote for which team you think is going to take the whole enchilada, so that way you can get some nice rewards in game. Of course, also, I got to give a big thank you to our sponsors, the reason why we got this show here on the road. So, of course, I got to give a thank you to Sony with their Xperia 1.4 and Xperia Stream. They're created in collaboration with professional esports players. Play PUBG Mobile in 90 Hz with Xperia Stream's total cooling system and multiple ports for intensive gaming and streaming. Best of the best, baby. Best of the best. Of course, I was going to give a big thank you to Pullman, Kuala Lumpur, Banksar. Our world is your playground. Oh, man. Okay. Now that we got all the business out the way, let's get to the serious business as well, okay? We have to talk about these teams up on top, right? And I hope you guys are joining us in that conversation. Make sure that you're following us on all the channels, okay? Subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the button, get it done, right, Glitter? Get it done.
Always get it done, okay? There's lots of really cool stuff going on all of the social media platforms, so people need to be making sure they're keeping up to date on all of it.
And for everybody, by the way, for everybody tweeting, I was actually looking at some of those hashtag PMGC and hashtag PMGC 2022. So shout out to everybody that was using the hashtags.
Yes, indeed. And here's the format for everybody that's just tuning in here for the first time here. We are in group stage green here, and you can see 4 teams automatically are going to go to that big show coming up in the grand finals here, 7.
They definitely are, and then some of the teams that I'm pretty sure today, as we hit the halfway point of this week, we're going to find out which teams might be going to survival stage or which teams are going to be fighting to not go there. And you can see there from December 3rd to December 4th, we're going to have the last chance. That's going to be absolute mayhem. So for all the teams fighting it off right now this week, try your hardest, because that looks very, very hard to go through. And then the prize pool, $4 million, and the point system that we are super used to here, Glitter.
Obviously, you want to get those chicken dinners for the additional 15 points, but time and time again, Jukes, we always know every single elimination counts. 1 point per elim. You cannot let them slip through the cracks.
Not 1 point at all. We've already seen way too many stages where one team is left out by just 1 point. me go ahead and show you guys the participating teams that we got here in this show. As you go down the list, I mean, man, I know that there's so many of these squads, so many people from around the world have been just rooting for their teams here, and from all over the world, 7.
They definitely are. I mean, we saw what happened last week with the first group and this group, as we all consider it the group of death. I mean, I was mentioning, I was kind of hinting at it earlier, the games that we got a chance to see, the quality of gameplay, it was amazing. I know the casters enjoyed it, and with the top damage glitter, you can see Tixie putting up some damage with 3,146.
Yeah, I mean, we have some really impressive things to talk about here. Obviously, 2 of the top 4 from our top team right now, HVVP up on top. Absolutely crushing it. So many points above the rest. So it deserves that they've got 2 of their players up here. Obviously, Nova making an appearance as the defending champs, going to make sure they were top 4. But Coops still up here in the discussion, even with the lackluster performance out of Knights.
100%. And then, I mean, we got to talk about this team. HVVP, they perform amazingly yesterday. What they were able to do, I mean, we just saw what some of the players were able to do. And then Nova, I feel like Nova actually didn't perform as well as we expected them to, and I feel like that has to do because of their Erangel performances. In the 3 matches of Erangel that we got a chance to play yesterday, their average placement was about 13th place. That's not something that you want to see, especially out of the back-to-back defending champions of PMGC. I'm expecting Nova to actually put up a great performance here today when we start off in Erangel, and I really don't think, Hot Jukes, that we're going to be seeing any hot drops from Power anymore.
No, I think they learned their lesson by now. You know, I still blame Imperium for that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so hopefully they learned their lesson. I mean, they should be coming in today feeling really good because they ended yesterday with a chicken dinner. And regardless of, you know, whether, hey, the zone was a little bit favorable to them, every single time that happens, you know that's got to pump them up and give them that momentum coming into here. So take a look at the day 1 highlights, Glitter.
All right, now I'm excited to take a look back at this because obviously I was not here to curse anybody yesterday. So we get to see if I can bring that back a little bit now that I get to hang out with you guys. But I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Obviously, HVVP up on top. Phenomenal performance across the board. Consistency in a top 5 spot all day, 7, outside of 2 games. And we talk about this all the time. And we bring it up in relation to PMGC. Consistency is going to be king in this moment.
100%. And you mentioned that 5th place. Well, even though they did end up getting those 10th place finish, they were still pretty much able to average a 5th place throughout the whole day. And I think they were just able to establish their aggressiveness. And something to mention too is that we actually saw a lot of fights between HVVP and Nova. So we have to keep an eye on that if they're going to keep just cutting themselves off in certain rotations. You can actually see it at perfectly timed right there that we're getting into fights. HVVP actually ended up getting the better of that team over and over again. But some of the other teams that we got to talk about, I mean, Alpha 7 was able to put up a great performance. This is a team that's usually known to be very aggressive in their region. It's good to see that they were able to continue that aggressiveness through. They did end up the day with an 8th place finish and only 2 eliminations. I'm hoping they're able to bounce back here in the first match. And last and not least, the team that really surprised us at the end of yesterday was Power. This team was able to go from 16th place all the way up to 7th place with a chicken dinner, Hot Jukes.
That's insane. I mean, hey, that's how it really took, though. I mean, they had 14 points before that one match, and then boom, you can see right here as we take a look at the overall rankings, jumped their way all the way up to 7th, Glitter.
Yeah, I mean, and that's huge. And you can see, obviously, the blue teams are going to be the ones that would be qualifying through to grand finals. Right now, it'll be the top 3. The ones in pink will be dropping down to that survival stage. And you can see HVVP has created for themselves after their performance. So they're going to try and continue keeping that cushion there. As we see the second page here, the rest of those squads potentially in survival stage. And then the ones down there at the bottom need to push out of that spot 7. I mean, Pittsburgh Knights just barely outside of where they want to be. 2 points behind Vampire Esports.
Yeah, and luckily for Knights, they were able to finish off their day in a good form with the 3rd place finish and 5 eliminations. Hopefully, they might be able to carry some momentum here. But you know what? Let's talk about this 2 teams. Because in a way, it was night and day after the first match. And I say that because Bacon Time was actually able to get the chicken dinner on the first game yesterday. And then after that, they completely just dropped off the face of the earth with just averaging an 11th place finish. pretty much throughout the rest of the day. And then when we go to Evos, I mean, this is a team that hasn't been able to get a chicken dinner. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that team because I want them to get a chicken dinner. And when we talk about the drop locations, you heard me earlier, Glitter, talking about the hot drop. I don't think it's going to happen anymore between Nova and Power.
You know, it didn't go so successfully the first couple times that it happened, and you saw, like you both have said now, the difference between when they hot dropped and didn't do so well, and then they don't hot drop and they get the 15 elim chicken dinner to close out the day. I mean, if that's not a message or a sign, Jukes, then I don't know what is.
I mean, that is as big as one as I've ever seen in my life, that's for sure. And, you know, going up against the previous champions, that is Nova, and looking for Gatka loot, yeah, not the best idea, I think, in the first place here. But let's take a look here at the day's matches. You know, the good old tried and true map rotation that we got here going on. But you know what? You know, we're going to see, I think today's a very pivotal day for a lot of the teams, especially at the bottom, for that mentality, you know, because this is the big show. There's a lot of nerves that go into this, you know, not to mention all these players are using gyroscopes. So if those hands start shaking, that aim starts messing with a little bit here. So I think after day one, hopefully they cool down, got calm, they got collected, they know what they're dealing with, and they come in strong here to day 7.
100%. And I mean, you're talking about shaking. You're talking about some of these teams maybe getting a little frustrated. We saw it perfectly yesterday with Godlike Stalwart. We saw them getting out a little bit frustrated, but then they were able to kind of recover themselves and get a chicken dinner. I do expect them to continue to perform really, really well, and I'm actually surprised that I didn't put them in my teams to watch because they are going to be performing hopefully pretty well here in Erangel. And you heard me talking about Evos, how I expect them to get a chicken dinner here today. I actually want to see what Power is going to be able to do, if they're going to be able to follow up on that massive win that they got yesterday. And Vampire Esports, the champions out of PMWI, we just haven't really gotten a chance to see anything out of them, Glitter. And I can see you got Knights on your list.
Hey.
Listen, I had to put Knights on my list for a few reasons. Obviously, they're not performing where they probably would want to, but they also finish off the day on a high note. Okay, they had a 3rd place finish with 5 elims, definitely picked it up at the end of the day. I'm hoping they can snowball that a little bit now into this next match, or this next day of matches. Bacon started off the day strong. You mentioned it earlier when we were comparing them, so I'm hoping they can maybe do the same for themselves. And then, of course, Alpha 7 crushed it in the middle of the day all day, Jukes, but I want to see what they can do at the start and finish.
We saw Coops waking up.
That's right. We did. Coops has awoken. He's got that damage going on. Hopefully he's awake here today as we get the first match here on the road. It's time to get this bad boy started. Let's go ahead and take it out over to our casters with John Allen and Zute.
We are ready and raring to go for day 2 of Group Green, match number 7, just about to kick off. My name is John Allen. With me is Zute, and we're taking a look at who's going to be able to ride those highs and lows from day 1.
Well, this day 2, I feel like day 2 is going to be completely different outside of HPPV, right? I think from day 1 to day 2, things always change up, but with HPPV's performance on day 1, it was so consistent to a T, like the way they played, the style of method that they use to push into zones on all maps, right? They play the exact same, in my opinion, on all maps, and it's just pure consistency at its finest right now. But for everyone else, I feel like, you know, there's a chance for anyone to bump up into the top 3.
It really is. It's quite close towards the top, kind of from pretty much second, I would say, dropping down to, well, I think at this stage anybody can make it in. We've only had a quarter of the games coming on through, so you're right. I think it is very, very volatile still. We saw that over in Group Red as well, with the top 3 changing very significantly, I would say. After day 1, the top teams, I think it was Enigma Galaxy, almost not making it into the survival stage.
And, well, we're starting it off once again with Erangel Plane Path out on your screen. This does set up another Gatka hot drop potential, but we saw yesterday on the very final Erangel game that Power decided not to hot drop, and they actually ended up winning the match. So I think Nova should be safe here for, you know, a non-contested drop. But we'll see if maybe Power, you know, got some motivation in them after getting that huge chicken dinner the other day.
I mean, to be fair, with this plane path, there aren't too many drop positions that you really think might be viable. I imagine that you might just have to say, you know what, we kind of have to go for Gatka. Look, Alpha 7 are out early, headed towards North George. This is something that they haven't really gone for so far. HVVP have been isolating that location. See if they can challenge for it.
They might just end up sharing North George. I know that city is extremely large. Probably, I think it's the biggest one out of all the locations on Erangel. And taking a look at Alpha 7, one of them's dropping up further north for a vehicle, but I do believe that's just to secure vehicles first. You see the other two members on that mini-map dropping inside North George Pool, so they will probably end up sharing it. A fight is most likely not to break out. And we got U2 Alliance here doing a far stretch of a jump, and the first circle is out, and we are pretty much going to be centered on Erangel with quite a bit of military zone in, but I don't think it's going to go that way.
Would be fairly unlikely at this stage, but Donuts USG and U2 Alliance both on a similar drop route, seemingly heading towards Rozhok or Sunken City if they have to drop a little bit short. We'll have to see what those calls come through as. Have to wait and see if they divert their strategy. Power did drop out further south. They're currently parachuting over the south of Potato Hill, just to the west of Farm.
Yeah, so no hot drops for Nova, which is good. We do see one member of U2 Alliance drop here. Maybe he might go for some shots up in the sky. You see him looking up there. He's got the M4, but I think it's a little bit too late. The other USG players have already drifted further. This might end up in somewhat of a hot drop here, and I think they're going to have to commit. It's going to be a 1v2. It's too late for him to pull off, as no guns found. He found the pistol, and that's the first knocked onto the side of USG Donuts.
And picks up a helmet and vest as well, so could be pretty crucial. But with that shotgun in hand, Donuts USG going to be struggling. Can he find a little angle? Going to be worried now that a gun's been picked up. And look at this, the teammates are rallying on through. Excellent to slow the fight down for U2 Alliance, but now they can start to control the cross. A SCAR as well as a UMP for Repo Boy is massive in this early game. It's so useful and so impactful. We'll see if they can try and challenge that out. It looks like do have is that a mutant on board? I think it might be on the ground floor. Moving on up towards the pistol player, but U2 Alliance stand strong together, and they are fending off Donuts USG really effectively.
Yeah, the weapons for USG is definitely not what they want. I think there's that one. Yeah, they only have 2 weapons. They're down to 2 players. And meanwhile, U2, UMP, SCAR, 2 UMPs, a nade. They're down to 1 HP on the rooftop. This is going to be their last stand. USG is about to bow out extremely early here. That nade should connect. Yep, connects to 1. And unless there's some shotgun magic about to happen, which it does not, that is U2 Alliance picking up 4 early eliminations. Really good job by them. I do feel like USG Donuts could have been a little bit more prepared. I mean, they saw each other the whole way through, you know, floating right next to each other. And it's just, I think they were really gambling on just finding one vehicle to just hightail it out of there, or just picking up the weapons. But with U2 Alliance dropping close by in the Watertown, right, there's definitely weapons there versus that one little garage compound. So USG, I feel like they could have played it a little bit more better, think a little bit more heads up on the way to that far stretch.
I think it would have gone a little bit differently as well, potentially, if that pistol knock hadn't come through right at the start for U2 Alliance. I mean, that was really crucial. And to be able to nail those shots, it's not easy to get down, see the pistol, landing directly on top of it, pick it up, get the aim on, and start popping shots accurately before they get away from your sightlines. I mean, that's pretty solid stuff.
Yeah, and he grabbed the pistol first out of the 2 other players that dropped against him, right? That was a 1v2 drop. And I think, yeah, you're right. That first knock kind of probably baited USG into thinking, okay, all he's got is a pistol. We have 2 people here. And the other 2 players ended up, you know, flying into hoping they would find weapons, but none were to be found, and by then U2 Alliance had swarmed them. So that's a quick little spurt of action to start off day number 2. Meanwhile, in the rest of the map, it's looking pretty calm. All the teams are pretty much split up looting. Nova's already making their first rotation, dead in the center of zone. You have the Knights very close by on top of the hills, which is pretty much also central, but I don't believe either of those 2 teams will really engage, and they're just going to wait for the circle shifts.
Power of let well alone at the moment. I mean, you do have Scry on that south side at the moment, but not really providing too much of an issue. Hang on a minute, might come into conflict here. He's spotted. Did he see the player, though? Did he see the enemy player? He's certainly going to know about it now. Unleashes a volley of shots, and Scry's going to be wary.
Don't throw the nade. Don't throw the nade.
The rest of Godlike Stalwart are nowhere near this. Action actually is on the coast, but kind of not in the best of positions. Godlike Stalwart, can they stop their run of just losing players early, having really unfortunate scenarios?
Yeah, I'm not sure why he threw the nade. I don't think Stalwart knew he was there, and that nade gave it away. And now he's caught in a 1v2 with backup arriving, though. So he should just look to stall for as long as he can as his teammates come in. But actually, forget about stalling. He's going to take the challenge, get that 1v1, get a quick 1v2. Stalwarts. This is just a bad start on bad start on bad starts for Stalwarts. Like, I think almost every single game for them, besides the one game that they did well in yesterday, they've been just losing players constantly in the early game.
It's not good. It's really not good. And I imagine that the frustration in that room is only going to get worse because, you know, you're trying to reset day on day, right? You can come into today fresh and thinking, you know what? Today wasn't great. Yesterday wasn't great. It wasn't the best performance. We know we can do better. Let's keep it solid today. Let's keep it together. And the first game back, you come in and you lose 2 to a 2 versus 1 this early in the game as well. It's really going to take a knock to them.
What's worse for me, like just analyzing that down from like a deeper competitive standpoint, they had a 2v1, but you notice
that can't be right.
They went 1 by 1 up the stairs. And
that can't be right. Top 5 rate. Godlike Stalwart.
I see that. Also, USG Donuts. I think that prediction is cursed. That's cursed predictions. Whoever made those predictions, they cursed both of those teams at the top 2.
Oh, hang on a minute. No, it is. That is right. That is right. Yeah, all 3 games yesterday on Erangel. I mean, they had their 4th place finish, game 1, 1st place finish, game 4, and then game 6, it was 5th. So technically, every single game, they finished top 5 on Erangel.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, but as they were saying, the majority of their points come from Erangel. It is only Erangel that is giving them points right now. And to lose 2 this early is not good news.
That's true. It's such polarizing, like, such polarizing results, I think, right? That you see how they do in some of these games, and it's terrible. And then some games they do all right, which, you know, get them up there. As we see the next circle shift, too, it goes really hard to the west. But I think a lot of teams kind of have in mind exactly how they're going to want to play this one out. You see Nova once again, huge 2-1-1 splits. Yesterday they got punished once for it, but they're going to stick true to how they play these zones, and we'll see if it pays off for them.
Power sending through. They do know these grounds fairly well. I mean, obviously they've been dropping here for a while. They tried to challenge Nova on it. Not going to take a knock to Spec. Spec not quite getting the spray down with the DP. Not going to be able to isolate a player on an angle. Damwon pretty close by to the Pittsburgh's hilltop.
These hilltops are generally shared with 2 teams, especially at this stage in the game. And you can see Spec just backing off a little bit. Damwon and the Knights will take control of the high mountaintops. But this is a little bit off center, so there's a good chance that the next zone, if it shifts a little bit away from them, they'll be in zone, but it's not going to be more central. It's definitely going to be on the edge. We see A7, or Alpha 7 here, driving right up next to Skylights. Are they going to go for a quick skirmish? Mafioso hops out, takes some really good shots, drops that player down. Just 1 HP. Can he connect 1 or 2 more bullets? And he gets away on the skin of his teeth.
Goodness me, snatches the hat from under the closing door. Gets away from it, action hero style. Skylights stay alive as 4. And we'll be able to move a little bit further. The smoke coming out of that vehicle, you want to swap that out as soon as possible. As soon as you spot another one. Maybe even regroup onto another teammate's vehicle. Go as a duo there, because that vehicle's going to be so vulnerable if it gets spotted.
Definitely so. Man, for that vehicle to be smoking, I mean, Mafioso popped in a lot of accurate shots. You don't usually see one spray down. Oh, hold up a sec. Incon getting a run over onto Kirill, but it is quite literally just going to be a drive-by. They're going to just keep driving. They're just going to keep driving here. And actually, Incon actually takes a knock on by the side of Skylights. This is a mad dash on the northeast side. 3 teams all getting into a scuffle with one another, and they will lose 1 player here.
Ooh, Nenebete having to swing that one around. 2 wheels on the buggy out. Not ideal conditions for driving. Nima from Skylights might look for a little shot or 2 over towards Nenebete, but he's picked up. And they will fold it back on in and move back down a little bit further south, just ahead of Bacon Time, who are still out on that east. They've been a little bit south of these scuffles so far, but now they might come through to play a part in them, as the Pittsburgh Knights will have to fend off as well.
Yeah. 3 teams still coming in from the east. Now 4 is probably going to have to rotate in. The circle pretty much centers up right there. Nova, man, that 2-2 split. It's a little bit scary to hold that now, and you can see them starting to regroup. The north split coming down into the south split, so they are going to play in from the southern side. Nova driving in. Ooh, good cover fire by Paraboy. Actually gets Paraboy and Order gets 2 knocks. I don't know if they're going to go and try and confirm that, because you can see there's a lot of teams coming in here now. It'll be risky to reach your head out to try and confirm those eliminations.
Vampire with 2 playing in just this little shack here. Gonna be taking shots over towards Fireflux, towards all these teams moving in, but you're right, it is Nova just lighting up these fields from the south side on their split. Proving to be gate posts, but the regroup coming through is good. To bring them all back together, play from the stronghold on the south side of these open fields, with the fields being such a dominant factor in this next circle. I mean, it's got to be a solid position.
Yeah, those shacks are pretty strong, because you do get a lot of well, one of the shacks that I do believe, not the one that Fireflux is at. That one, they're going to lose all their vehicles. They're going to be trapped inside. But the one further east, I do believe, yeah, Inko is holding down. You know, you see that it dips down quite a little bit, so they have a ridge line to use as cover, plus the hard cover of the shack.
You wouldn't know it looking at this sort of side swing of that cover, but yeah, you're right, it is quite significant, and it will keep those vehicles safe. Hopefully give them a little bit more mobility. Vampire as well, they have 2 shacks of their own. It is the shack attack on the south side. 1 million on the northwest, fairly isolated, nobody else near them. In Gatka, HVVP is starting to make their presence known on their north side, as well as the scuffles continue on the south side.
A lot of suppressive fire here. I don't believe any knocks would lead to eliminations, not at this point, especially for everyone in the fields. No real push can be made. Third parties are imminent, especially with Nova holding down that compound. They could take shots at anybody trying to push anyone driving across in that open side. You see Alpha 7 here trying to return some fire onto the Knights, because Knights actually picked up 1 elimination onto Alpha 7 just a few moments ago. And, whoa, all the way up in the northeast, some Kakado. There's some fighting going on here too. You do Alliance getting into another fight, already up to 4. And they are going to try and heal up here and get the revives going.
Not going to get pushed on just yet. Skylight's holding back for now. You can see them fairly low with 2 knocks on the forefront. That's what's slowing them down. They can't engage fully on the southwest side of Pachinki. That's going to keep Udo Alliance alive. One of them sending forwards, drawing a little bit of attention. Look at a scout pass down one and move towards Power's position, because the circle shifts away and will keep them out in the cold if they don't move.
Ooh, this zone ending is gonna be hectic, John. We got the field ending, but this field has multiple shacks that teams could all squad up in with 4 players. 3 of them already taken. Now from the northeast side, a lot of these teams have to migrate down, and they might be thinking one of these shacks are open, but they're all already occupied. Nova in a great spot now with that southern circle shift. And meanwhile, HVVP, they've been quiet so far, but you know what this means when they don't get circle, John? They're about to go on a warpath.
Which way will they go? Are they going to swing out to the west, take on 1 million, who've been keeping out of trouble, keeping their nose clean? Or are they going to try and head a little bit further east? It looks like west is going to be their choice, and see if they come into a conflict with 1 million. In the meantime, Fireflux holding down the central area in a very vulnerable shack, but they're not going to have to leave it, which means those vehicles, losing those vehicles, not going to have an impact just yet on this game.
I do believe they should get at least 1 more circle with how center they are. And at that point, with the fields being so flat, honestly, you don't even want to do a vehicle rotation, that vehicle is just going to be a magnet. It's going to be so much chaos. You're better off laying down a bunch of smokes and just kind of going on foot, in my opinion. Here's that fight you were talking about on the northwest side, HVVP versus 1 million. Once again, HVVP playing on the very edge of every circle, pushing away everyone from their backs so they can just focus on their front side. This is something HVVP does so well.
They are playing in one of the other very strong positions, this hill that juts out into the fields. At the moment, though, teams are looking to move on in. Down one have the compounds just a little bit further north of it. 1 million, you can see they're trying to swing around and leapfrog with their remaining duo, get ahead of the game and see what they can find. They're actually going straight up and almost into the fields. No, they think better of it. Vampire have the crossfire on this. There's no way they stay alive. They are going to be lit up and taken down, eliminated 14th place.
Yeah, when you're going to come in that late, everything is taken. You have to, in my opinion, just take that 4v4. They don't know it's HVVP. I mean, if they knew, I'd understand why they didn't take it, but that was a poor attempt at just trying to find something in a zone that, you know, at this point, everybody's already in there, John. So 1 million going down there. Here we're on the southeastern side, a fight for another hilltop. This time it's Bacon time against the likes of Evos.
Nade already finding the back line. This bombardment continues. Evos with the numbers. Evos have been lying in wait on these south hills just to the south of Nova for a long time, and now Bacon Time has stepped up. They're laying claim to it. They've been here for a while. They're not going to let it go, but unfortunately Shirty has things to say about it. Getting a little bit Shirty himself, lighting them up, looks for one more as well. Spots the player hitting the dirt and will find another, and now leaves them in a 1 versus 1 up the top of the hill. Noise trying to hold out for Bacon Time, but his teammates are falling. In comes Microboy. They were operating 4v3 Evos, and they were still holding out on this fight.
Oh, Nova's here for the third part. Oh my gosh, very nicely timed third party by the Nova team. They're going to pick up quite a few points here. They might actually take out both team. Evos, they were just dominating the fight just a second ago, but now with Nova creeping up, it looks like they are going to be down to just, once again, Microboy. Microboy yesterday, as a solo player for Evos, came up huge. I think he was he was in the top ranking for solo plays out of all entirety of yesterday, so we'll see what he can do. Order here, looking to pick up another knock. Bacon Time now just down to 1. Nova smelling weakness here. They want to secure 1 more point too, because they do not have the zone, and these points are more guaranteed than finding a spot in the zone at this point.
It would be 3 points if they could pick up all the players around here. Looks like they are going to falter just a little bit. Order into the back of the buggy. Jimmy will go on foot. Order needs to be whisked away to safety, get some healing done. It looks like they are going to disengage. I mean, they might be more certain, but Nova potentially more confident in their ability to fight into the fields.
Maybe they have a really well game set plan for when they lose that position. And honestly, with how often Nova plays and the fact that they chose that compound and not a shack, I think they have a set plan that they want to execute and make sure they do it with enough time. Meanwhile, HVP on the northwest that circle, so they're going to control this giant hilltop, and if they lose that zone, they could pick whatever shack they want and have suppressive cover fire if they push it.
Vampire, really the only other team that's close by. Alpha 7 playing on the east side of this hill with 3, but they're right on the toe of it. HVVP just control all of this high ground. Nova are swinging in. This is their game plan.
Oh,
they wanted to rotate through
I
and
see.
move in, but HVVP are here, and it will not be easy. With Udo Alliance setting out shots their way, Matic gets spotted, but Udo Alliance not going to be taking the shots over that way. It's just Paraboy who's been led all the way back and stayed in the back lines. King down for Nova. Order and Jimmy trying to move up this hillside, but HVVP is slowing them down. Matic did get spotted, but Meku cuts down Jimmy on the push. Order trying to swing up and in, but will be shot down. Meku again on the forefront and doing a lot of work for HVVP. Paraboy left high and dry.
Yeah. I do see the plan they had. They had that ridge in mind to provide that cover fire for the 3-man push, and honestly, it would have worked out decently well, but we did see U2 Alliance, get the opening on to King, and by then it was just too much to deal with. Once again, Nova and HPVV clashing. I think they've almost fought, like, 4 out of all the games that we watched so far, but they will not come ahead this time.
Nova maybe getting spun out here. Hang on a minute. Noise is here. They're looking to finish the job. Nova denied even that, and Noise will take down Paraboy. 11th place and 4 elims. This is not the run they want if they're going to challenge for the top 3.
Not at all. But we still have some other hard-hitting teams in here. Mostly just teams and Shacks. The only team with a dominant position, I would have to say, is HVVP and also Alpha 7. They are dead center of the map, and that Shack does provide a lot of room to work with, and they will get the zone once again. Inco on the southeast and U2 Alliance on the southwest. They're going to have to move out of their Shacks and probably just force a push into another team.
HVVP with 3 players alive. They did lose one of their fold. Matic fell in the midst of it all. Took a couple of shots. I think it might have been third parties coming in as well, or it might have been Paraboy at long range. I think it might have been that, in fact. But now they have control over the majority of this hill. They can move through. Vampire regroup on the position underneath HVVP. Gets a tag there for Tixie and is going to just back off of it. Doesn't want to challenge those sight lines. Spots a player from U2 Alliance, but doesn't go for the shots again.
I envision some nades raining into that Shack very shortly. Once they make sure U2 Alliance has left their position and if they can secure those points, their eyes are going to be set on Vampire Esports. That's 4 players out of Vampire, all stuck in that Shack, I think.
Teams are really committing to these Shacks at this stage. And why wouldn't you? They are solid. They do provide you so much cover. Stone spotted by Fireflux, who been in their Shack for the longest time. Over to Inco. A lot of spray over towards Power, having to make a dash out in the open. Down one on the north side. They've been holding in this compound for a long, long time. They will have to move down south of it, but there is a building that is in the next circle. They should be all right for a phase more.
I do see Dawan maybe taking a fight with HVVP because they do have that hillside that they could slowly work up on. And they will take the northern side of it. Would they swing all the way around, though, to take a fight with HVVP? I don't think so. Damwon's not extremely aggressive. I think they'll just play their positions for now. And Vampire, actually, with a 3-1 split. So not putting all their eggs in one basket. And here comes Damwon. They're kind of sniffing this side out. They're seeing if they could get an opening. But I don't think they're going to do like a full committal push like we saw the likes that Nova did. Because they have the circle to work with, like you said.
They have that little slice. Vampire Esports, they took a knock. They have managed to get everyone back up. Ravenclaw, an outpost for them. Godlike Stalwart is their last player out in the zone. Only 1 elimination to their name. I don't imagine it's going to last too much longer. Fireflux trading back and forth, catch, fall. But they do manage to get the knock back over to Vampire, playing in those foothills underneath the watchful gaze of HVVP. Top trying to zigzag through the fields, but it's Mafioso to pick up the spray with the DP.
Man, Star Wars Esports just having such a rough time right now. They did manage to get up to top 7, so that's some placement points right there. Man, ooh, huge nade out of Damwon. That might be the opening that they look for to do a huge aggressive push.
And a second coming through from Vampire. Stoned is there behind the smoke, and now all of a sudden, Vampires have ruined the chances. HVVP down to just 1. It's just Kitsune, and he's on a sliver of HP. Damwon knows exactly where he is. They know the vehicle. They put that nade in and spot the damage. And now they're just looking for the sprays. Tixie is flushed out. Kitsune falls, and just like that, with a snap of the fingers, somehow HVVP taken down 5th place.
Wow, HVVP leaving the Shack from the low ground and having the confidence or having the info to push on up. I think it's because of that 3-1 split. Ravenclaw giving that info, seeing no more players out on that ridgeline, gave Vampire Esports the confidence to push on up, and this might actually get them the chicken as the new zone goes right on top of them.
A really valuable spot for Vampire. They made a solid rotation towards the start. They held some good shacks. And now they're reaping the benefits. I mean, a well-timed fight, if nothing else. Taken uphill against the Arbiters that existed. But Damwon now might take up that mantle.
Shots raining into Fireflux now as they have to leave their shack. One player down. I don't know how many more smokes they have left, but they're going to have the entirety of Vampire and A7 looking at them cross over in this wide open field. They might survive, but I don't think they'll manage to do it with 4 players. And Damwon, meanwhile, on the north side, they could choose to strike at any time, but they might bide their time just a little bit more and wait for the next circle before deciding to push whether to the east or the west side.
Vampire regrouping, bringing Ravenclaw back in. Getting actually a little bit of position up the top of the hill, so a high sight line, a little bit of scouting done as Damwon take a couple of shots over. Alpha 7 want to guard out Fireflux. If they can force the fight on the hillside, Fireflux have a really good third-party position.
Ooh. Soke with a really good knock, but here comes Vampire. Just cutting them down. Actually, Fireflux catch one of Vampire. That's a huge one for them. Vampire looking so dominant with 4. Now they're down to 3, and now Damwon is deciding to strike once. Everyone starts shooting, and they see action in the elimination feed. That's when they decide to third party. Well timed by Damwon Gaming.
Just Ketch remains now for Fireflux, but on the outside of the circle, is there cover to move towards? It doesn't look like there is, so Ketch is going to have to make a mad dash or try and heal out for a little bit longer. Try and just stay alive. Will be spotted, and it won't be allowed. Vampire shut that one down. 2 players alive for Alpha 7, 3 active for Damwon with a res in the pocket. Vampire on 2 with 1 in the pocket.
Those nades are getting awfully close, and they're getting a little bit clumped up, and they got to be a little bit careful. Forest primes his nades, tries to answer one back. Mythic still has one in hand, you see right there. And oh, he gets naded before his can connect, and that's huge for Damwon. They are now reset to 4.
Damwon back up and in fighting form. They take the fight over towards Alpha 7. Mythic dispatched. 1 player remains for Alpha 7. Vampire did manage to get all 3 of their players back and active. They spread out. They go a little bit wide. Schweppes is going around down south. Might even try and flank on towards Revo's position. Fluketh, in the meantime, bombarding Damwon up the top of the hill. This is bold from Vampire. They're trying to take control of a lot of territory with minimal force.
Yeah, they want to play loud and big right now because they're down to 3. They want to make sure they get the terrain advantage at this point. Because Damwon with 4, if they're all backed up into a corner, that's better for Vampire Esports. And Revo's still alive here. He's still in the zone. I think Damwon has to creep up just enough that Vampire can maybe take a fight with them and then Revo come in third party. So Damwon in a very precarious situation.
Fluketh and Schweppes playing on that same banked hillside, stoned a little bit further down. Are they aware of Revo is the question. I feel like they must know that there's someone there to stop Damwon moving that direction. Probably spot the vehicles as well. But Damwon not giving an inch right now.
Playing very safe, or as safe as can be, but 1 good nade. Just well placed could take down 2. You see them starting to spread out just a little bit. They have the very edge of this circle, but now we're into the final zone, and it's going to just close and shrink down to the middle. This might actually work out for Damwon, because now they can methodically approach this and use different angles. You can see this player right here creeping out to the eastern side. Lines now down onto Vampire.
Oh, Schweppes getting a lot of valuable damage over onto Damwon, forcing those heals to come through. Revo is just shuffling his way in for Alpha 7, trying to stay alive. There is a nade there as well. If he can get in range, that could be devastating to whichever side he decides to unleash on. It seems like Damwon are the victims there. Has got 1 more. The nade is in the smoke, but it bursts just a little bit short there. Will not tag on. Another one put in, and that is the resource run dry. Schweppes stands up, goes for a little bit of a spray, but the rest of Damwon are waiting for it. Fabian hits the drop shot and opens up onto Vampire for one. Gets away clean with it, but unfortunately they do get spotted, and again it's a 1-for-1 trade. This is good news on the numbers game for Damwon, but Revo is still there. Revo is still a problem. They need to be wary. Spotted out flush. They were on the ball with it, and now Vampire only have the one player remaining. It's Schweppes as the backline. As the circle closes for the final throws of it, one player down, will not find another knock, and it's Damwon with the chicken dinner.
Well done by Damwon. They play that so methodically slow. It was almost a bit scary to watch, but they knew what they're doing. They controlled their position. They spaced out correctly. Sure, maybe one nade would have, landed on them, but they had 4 up and they could get that revive potential. And look at them. They are celebrating that win. That was a huge one for them. And I honestly want to say this is kind of a sleeper team because last year they did really well. And for this stage so far, they haven't done bad whatsoever. They've actually done pretty decent. And with this first chicken dinner win on the second day, like I said, from day 1 to day 2, things will change up real quick with teams once they are able to get that reset. We might see prime for Damwon from last year playing now.
And they did play well for this as well. It's not like this was an easy fought victory. They did have to challenge on those hillsides, and they did well to do it. They took it away from HVVP with a well-timed, I suppose, collaboration in effect with Vampire Esports from down the hill, their opponents in the final circle.
And also Vampire Esports, showing up on the first game, getting a lot of points in. Same with Alpha 7. This team, has a lot of expectations, and I want to say that was a pretty decent start. Fireflux, troublesome, very troublesome day number 1. I do think they did better on the last game of yesterday, but this is a good start for everybody on day 2 here.
Picking up a second place in that last game, but in this game, going down a little bit earlier. Damwon, though, managed to go all the way and take the first chicken dinner.
Welcome back, everybody. Damwon is going to win that one in the first match here today with 14 eliminations, putting some big points on the board here, Seven.
They definitely are. 29 points. That's going to be helping them push up on that leaderboard. It's good to see that they were able to put up that performance on the first match. And then a team that I was actually talking about, Vampire Esports, I was wondering where they were at. Well, guess what? They were able to show up with 9 eliminations, 12 placement points with that second place finish, 21 total. And I know you're going to be happy about this one, Glitter. Alpha 7 with the 3rd place finish.
I feel like we did a good job with teams to watch for the first game of the day. Not too mad about it. But I do want to talk about some of the top performers from this map because look how many Damwon people are on here. I mean, this was a solid performance. We were talking about this while we were watching the game, Jukes. They had incredible positioning from like zone 4 on. They utilized it so well, and when they had opportunities to push and take teams out like HVVP, they did.
Perfect execution. The nade usage, I mean, it's so crazy because any one of these teams, if they get that spot, they are taking you out, and Damwon just proved, you know what, we got it, we're here, and we're gonna make it happen here in the first game. You saw, I love to see the players, just getting pumped up after that, say, hey, let's go, let's get hyped, because once you get that chicken dinner rolling, it's gonna really, really help for that overall mental factor here as it goes on. By the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the fan vote leaderboard. So it looks like S2G is going to be ranked first so far. What do you think about that, Glitter?
I like it. Okay. This is probably going to change up throughout PMGC. But I was gonna say that what I like is that we're getting some different options here, Jukes. The fans know what's up, okay?
They got something. They got some knowledge that maybe we don't know here, Seven, as we go in here to the next. That's what I love about it, man. You know, everybody that's in the chat, you know, get pat yourselves here on the back, because I know you guys are 100% right when it comes to predicting. 100% right, Seven?
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
They're in the present.
We'll definitely go with that.
They are in the present. That is correct. That is correct. So we got a lot to talk about as always there. You know, it's good to see that we didn't have that, you know, that hot drop in Gatka that we saw yesterday, but we saw another one here today off the rip, and man, some pretty good shots with that pistol, but didn't look like it was strong enough, right?
Yeah, it really wasn't strong enough. You're talking about the USG versus Yuda Alliance. It totally backfired for USG Donuts. I'm pretty sure they're going to be rethinking that in the future too. But the overall ranking, I mean, HPVP continuing that performance, now building up a 20-point lead. Alpha 7 being able to actually jump up to that second place. And what's actually even more impressive is that Damn One being able to jump up all the way to third place, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, I think this team was in 10th place. That's a great jump up.
I mean, that's massive. Actually, especially when you consider how close the points are right now. You can see that it's a very, very tight race. Second page here, lots of other teams dropping down a little bit, but not separated by a whole lot. And I think we're going to start seeing this is the fact that any strong performance out of these teams can completely just skyrocket them up these rankings, Jukes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these teams know, though, they know this position that they're in, and I think that these teams here on the second page at the bottom are thinking it's chicken dinner time, because once these squads are so powerful, if they start getting a lead at the top, they're keeping it. They are not going to lose it. So I think now's the time to really just catch up with a really hefty chicken dinner and bounce up like we saw Power do yesterday. What do you think about that, Seven?
I definitely have to agree with you. And I mean, with some of the other teams, I'm gonna be looking at Knights. They actually didn't have one of the best performances yesterday when it came to playing Miramar. I'm hoping that's gonna be able to change. You can see there, especially on the drops, they kept landing very close, very, very close with Vampire Esports, and they kept pretty much conceding it towards the end. And I think on the second Miramar, it actually ended up backfiring because they lost 2 players super early on. I wonder if the team's going to be switching it up here today. I'm hoping that they do because of the position that they're currently on, Glitter. If you're going to be where you are at and pretty much going to be sent home if it was to end today, play it a little bit safer, Knights.
I like that. I like that, Kala. It's something that we know they're capable of doing too. It's just whether or not they're going to be willing to adjust to that playstyle.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea, especially when it comes to dropping Picado. They're right in the middle of Sin City. You know, I think they're really hoping that first circle drops in that area so they can kind of just hold that 5 stack and just chill throughout the match. But, you know, I think them leaving off a little early and just trying to play it safe in the early game is definitely not a bad idea. Let's take a look here at the teams to watch here for this Miramar match coming up. Seven, I see you got, both of y'all got Alpha 7 listed there, and I don't think that's a bad decision by far. What do you think about that, huh?
It's great. Minds think alike. Look at that. We got Alpha 7. We got Nova 2.
Yep.
You know what? I'll talk about Alpha 7. They won their only game yesterday in Miramar, and I want to see if they're going to be able to continue those performances. This team is known for being able to perform really well when it comes to Miramar. They have great rotations, crazy rotations that we're not used to seeing, and I love to see that out of them. How about you? What you got in regards to Nova over there, Glitter?
Listen,
वो निकले और पहुंचे अपने ड्रॉप लोकेशन के करीब. वहां पर थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हुई. पहले एसटी के एक प्लेयर टॉप पीके के हाथों एलिमिनेट हो जाते हैं, पिट्सबर्ग नाइट के हाथों एलिमिनेट हो जाते हैं. आई वाज अमेज्ड कि ये क्या हुआ एकदम से आउट ऑफ नोवेयर. यहाँ पर फाइट वैम्पायर ई-स्पोर्ट्स और पीके की हो रही है और बीच में टॉप कहाँ से आ गया. सो दैट वाज अ फ्री वी, एक फ्री किल था और थैंक यू सो मच के साथ वो किल पिट्सबर्ग नाइट ने वहाँ पर उठाया भी. बट जो ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टिंग मैं समझता हूँ क्लैशेस होंगे वो सैन मार्टिन के अंदर हो सकते थे, फायर फ्लक्स और टीम एसटी के दरमियान. लेकिन फायर फ्लक्स बीइंग अ